These thoughts do not mean anything. What's up, guys? It's Jose here again, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And it's time for lesson 4 of the Course in Miracles. Lesson 4 invites us to realize and become aware of the statement, my thoughts do not mean anything, or these thoughts do not mean anything. And the same thing applies to the same thing as the first 3 lessons of realizing the illusion of what we see around us, of realizing the fact that we have invented and made up the meaning we give to things, and that ultimately we do not understand anything we see, because we think that what we see is reality, but what we see is just an invention of our minds. And so this time, the Course asks us to apply this same principle to our thoughts, because everything begins with our thoughts. The reality we see outside of ourselves, the external reality, begins with a thought, because we look at something, and the way we perceive something is not by looking at it for what it is, but by thinking about what we think it means. And so, thought is what everything begins with. What we don't only think when we look at external things, we not only perceive external things by thinking about them, we also think internally. What I mean by that is that we don't necessarily have to look at things to be thinking about them. We can close our eyes. We can be laying in bed, about to fall asleep, or maybe we just woke up and we'll be thinking about things. Thinking about the future, thinking about the past, thinking about a person, thinking about our jobs, about what we need to do, about ourselves, what we think about ourselves. And so once we realize and we apply the same principle to our thoughts and understand that every single thought, be it about something external, about something that we see, or simply about ourselves, it doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything for the same reason that the things we look at don't mean anything. Because the thoughts that we think are based upon the assumption that what we are thinking about is real. And since all the things we think about is made up by us, then the thoughts we have about them, or ourselves, or what we think we are, who we think we are not real either. So these thoughts that I'm having do not mean anything, because what I'm thinking about doesn't mean anything. So these thoughts also cannot mean anything. It's important to not make the discernment between certain thoughts, or think that this applies to some thoughts and not other thoughts. It applies to every single thought that you have. Doesn't matter if it makes you feel a little bit angry or very angry. Doesn't matter if it makes you feel a little bit sad or lonely, or very sad or very lonely. It applies to every single thought. And as long as our thoughts are based on our perception of this meaningless world that we have invented, then thoughts will be meaningless. So these thoughts are meaningless, don't mean anything, is what the Course invites us to start to understand, to start to realize in this lesson. With that said, I will see you in the next one.